Hi everybody, welcome back to the Space Blast. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the International Space Station, Earth's coolest floating lab. What if I told you that right now there is a giant science house floating right above your heads? And inside that house, there are astronauts drinking recycled sweat and pee who watch 16 sunrises every single day. Sounds crazy, right? Well, welcome to the International Space Station, also called the ISS. What is the ISS? The International Space Station, or ISS, is the largest space laboratory ever built, and it is the largest man-made object in space. Think of it like a giant Lego science city floating right above your head. Here's the crazy part. The International Space Station orbits the Earth every 90 minutes at a constant speed of 17,500 miles per hour, 400 kilometers above the Earth's surface. Astronauts inside the station get to see 16 sunrises and 16 sunsets per day. And astronauts have been living inside the station since the year 2000, non-stop. But it gets even more crazier. The International Space Station is bigger than a 6-bedroom house equipped with the bedrooms, bathrooms, science labs, a gym, and the best part of them all, a 360-degree view window called the cupola. And guess what? Maybe you might be lucky enough to find this thing soaring through the night sky like a star. Why did we build the ISS? Why would humans build something so huge in space? Well, it comes down to three main reasons. Reason number one, science without gravity. On Earth, gravity pulls everything down. But in space, gravity is almost non-existent. This helps astronauts do impossible experiments in space. For example, water flows like bubbles into space. Fire burns in perfect spheres. Crystals grow bigger and better. And cells can be studied more clearly. This helps scientists fight Alzheimer's and cancer, understand bone and muscle loss, and create new medicines and materials. So yes, space science does benefit you all on Earth. Reason number two, training for the Moon and Mars. You see, the ISS serves as a practice base for future space missions. Astronauts go there for 6 months or more to learn how the human body changes in space, how to recycle air and water, and how humans survive far from Earth. Technologies like 3D printing tools, space robots, and life support systems are tested on the ISS before they go to the Moon and Mars. The third and final reason is teamwork between countries. Here's the coolest part. The International Space Station was not built by one country. It was a collaboration of many countries. For example, NASA from the USA, ESA from 15 different nations in Europe, Roscosmos from Russia, JAXA from Japan, and CSA from Canada. Even when these countries don't agree with each other, they will be working peacefully together in space. Okay, but how was the ISS built? Here's the surprising part. The ISS was not built on Earth. No rocket is big enough and strong enough to launch it all at once. So NASA improvised. They built it like space Lego. Construction began in 1998. It took 40 missions and hundreds of spacewalks, but finally, the ISS was complete in 2011. Even today, new pieces are still being added onto the station. Some of the first pieces of the International Space Station were Zarya from Russia, Unity from the USA, and Zvezda, also from Russia. Astronauts worked around the clock outside in space using robotic arms to assemble this monstrosity. Okay, but what are some of the main parts of the ISS? Let's break down the ISS. The first thing that you'll encounter are the pressurized modules. These are the living rooms where astronauts eat, sleep, work, and exercise. These also contain some of the main science labs, like Destiny from the USA, Columbus from the ESA, and Kibo from Japan. The next part that we'll encounter is the truss, known as the backbone of the station. This is the long metal structure that is as long as a football field. But don't be fooled by how it looks. This structure holds the solar panels to the station, the radiators to the station, and it also holds the power cables to the station. So while it may look dull, it plays a very important role in keeping the station alive. The next thing that you'll see are the giant solar panels. 8 huge wings cover 1 acre, provide 75 to 90 kilowatts of power, and keep the station running intact. Coming up, you'll see one of the coolest features yet of the International Space Station, the cupola. The cupola is basically a 7 window observatory astronauts use to take photos, to watch Earth, and basically relax. Man, if only I was as lucky as them. The last thing that you'll see is the station's own robotic arm. The Canadarm2 helps the station by lifting heavy objects, helping astronauts during spacewalks, and catching spacecraft like a space crane. Man, that was a lot. But where is it and who lives there? The ISS flies at about 370 to 460 kilometers above the Earth's surface at a speed of 7.6 kilometers per second. And while doing so, it covers 90% of the Earth's population, meaning that you could probably catch this thing soaring in the night sky. Every day, the ISS covers the distance to the moon and back. Inside usually live 7 astronauts from different countries who stay there for 6 months. They usually get to the station in one of two vehicles: SpaceX's Crew Dragon rocket or the Russian Soyuz rocket. But earlier, NASA used to send their space shuttle vehicle to the station, and future plans show that Boeing Starliner spacecraft could make it to the station one day. Who were some of the key people who went to the International Space Station? Now, let's talk about some real heroes that went to the ISS. I'm talking about astronauts who lived there, like Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley. These astronauts are known as the comeback crew. Why, you may say? Because these astronauts are the first astronauts to go to the ISS from US soil since the retirement of the Space Shuttle program 9 years ago. Their mission proved that private companies like SpaceX can launch humans safely and that America could launch astronauts back from its soil again. Basically, they restarted human spaceflight from US soil again. Let's talk about another astronaut called Sunny Williams. Now, let's talk about someone super inspiring. Sunita Williams, also known as Sunny, is known for having spent 300 days in space. She is known for having been to the ISS multiple times and conducting many spacewalks. And she's known for even running a marathon in space. Yes, she ran while floating. Crazy to believe, huh? Do astronauts stay longer than planned? Yes, they do. These issues can occur due to weather problems, spacecraft issues, or mission delays. Astronauts like Sunny Williams have gone through this exact thing. Imagine planning to stay for a few weeks and ending up staying for a few months. That takes patience, strength, and a lot of courage. Why these astronauts matter? Astronauts like Bob, Doug, and Sunny are not just travelers. They are testers, scientists, and explorers. Their missions help us make space travel safer, understand how the human body works in long-term space, and help us with the ultimate goal of going to the moon and Mars. They show that ordinary humans can do extraordinary things. And now that we know some of the people who lived on the ISS, let's see what it is to live a day in the ISS. Life on the ISS is weird and complicated. For example, astronauts sleep in sleeping bags tied to the walls because there is no up or down in space. You just float. And if you're wondering what they eat, astronauts eat mainly packaged foods and rarely ever eat fresh foods. And if you're wondering, do they get fit? Yes. Astronauts have to go through a grueling 2 hours of exercise every single day to prevent their bones and muscles from getting weak. And talk about hygiene, because that doesn't exist in the ISS. Astronauts do not shower, but they do use wet wipes sometimes. And if you're wondering where that recycled water comes from, it comes from their own colleagues' sweat, breath, and urine. Gross. But let's focus on the bright side of life and all the positive stuff, like the science on board the International Space Station. The ISS is a science superstar. Stuff like human health studies, growing plants like radishes, and experiments like fire and fluid experiments are conducted on the ISS. And all this benefits us on Earth and in space too. The ISS is worth over 100 billion euros. And it's been shared since the past 30 years by many countries alike. The ISS is a science lab, a technology testing center, a stepping stone for Mars, and proof that humans can work together in space. The International Space Station isn't just floating above Earth, it's helping build the future of humanity. Thank you so much for watching my video today, but before you leave, please make sure to hit the like and subscribe button and smash that notification bell to get daily updates on future content that I post. Thank you so much for watching my video. Till then, see you next time. Bye.